Bonsoir, welcome back. My name is Austin, and today I'm here to talk to you about my personal favorite books of all time. My top 5, if you will. There's 4. My top 4 are all really clear to me. The 5th one was a bit more up in the air, so I decided to go with a book that I owned, and to just kind of get something a little more unique in there. And so I'll talk about that one first, so you'll see what I mean. But So the top 4 are definitely my top 4, and the last one's one I thought I'd highlight. So in 5th place, that book, of course, is Happy Stories Mostly by Norman Erickson Passeribu. I do hope that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry if it's not. And translated by Tiffany Sao. Hopefully I'm saying that right as well. This is a short story collection that is translated from Indonesian. The publisher, Tilted Axis Press, they translate a bunch of Asian fiction into English. Shocker, I know. I have 2 more books here. Strange Beasts of China is another one of my favorite books of all time, but I thought I'd go with Happy Stories mostly due to the fact that it's a short story collection, and there's so many good short stories in here. The problem with most short story collections is that there's some really good ones that ultimately overshadow a bunch of others, and then if there's one bad one, you sort of just don't care. There's not a single bad short story in here. I can very, very confidently say that. There's some that ultimately get overlooked, definitely, especially like the first 2. They're sort of, because the first one's just a page long. It's like, okay, feels more like poetry, but that's fine because it's really good. And there's a couple in here that are like really short and didn't stick with me too much, but like I think I counted like 8 of them that were all incredibly impactful to me, which is impressive. 8 short stories out of 12, was it? Hold on. Let me pull up the table of contents here. There's 12 short stories, and 8 of them made that strong an impact on me. That's impressive. I even have specifically, before I realized this was going to be on my top 10 books, I did tab The True Story of the Giant, because it's such a beautiful story. So the collection focuses mostly on, well, the bag of the book says it focuses mostly on putting queer stories into traditionally straight stories, which I disagree with. A lot of these books aren't necessarily queer-centric or stories that necessarily like did that. Most of them are queer-centric, and there's definitely some that take a very stereotypically straight aspect to it and make it queer, especially 10 and 11, Ad Maiorum, and Our Descendants, as well as So What's Your Name, Sandra? Those ones I feel like are the biggest to what the book is about, but then some of them either aren't queer, which isn't a problem, or they're not necessarily stories that are conventionally filled with heterosexuals. Once again, not that much of a problem because the short stories are so good. Truly, I cried during a lot of them. I couldn't help myself. It was so gorgeous and so emotional. When I finished it, I wrote this really cringy thing at the front. Happy Stories Mostly, a short story collection perfection. I thought I ate there. I really didn't. But it is truly gorgeous. With the Department of Unanswered Prayers being one of the most underlined things ever. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. Figured I can share a couple quotes that I found throughout that I just thought were beautiful. Here we go. So there's this line: "Is there such a thing, really, a prayer that must be answered?" And then this one, just a page later: "This is madness," he started yelling in the middle of the cafeteria, "allowing one person to determine the fate of every desperate dream there ever was." It's like, okay, didn't need to eat so hard there. And a lot of the stories are like this. Her story is like a devastating story about the realization that you are a character in a story. Like, yeah, it gets that existential. Yeah, I initially came in like, oh, I'm gonna annotate, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stop doing that because that's hard. And then I was like, actually, I'm just gonna start doing that again. So it's partially annotated, which is as well as one of the other books I'll talk about. Truly a gorgeous book. If you were gonna pick up a short story collection, pick this one. It's relatively short at 150 pages. The short stories, I think the longest is like 20 pages. Oh, it's 40. But that's the best one. Well, it's 30 pages, but that's also the best short stories, so it doesn't matter. Truly a gorgeous collection, and I really wish more people knew about this publisher, but also this collection. For book that is in 4th place, this one, it's a no-brainer. This author has 2 books in my top 10. They're both technically from the same series, but I'll get into why that's the way it is. And that book is, or the 4th place book, the higher book, is The Galaxy and the Grand Within by Becky Chambers. So this is a part of a book series called The Wayfarers, where each book takes place within the same universe, but they're very sparsely connected. I mean, 1 and 2 are quite connected, but this is the 4th book, the last one. She said she wasn't gonna write anymore. I do hope she returns to it because this book series is genuinely so amazing. At one point, books 1, 2, and 4 were all in my top 10. That's how impressive it is. But this one is absolutely my favorite. It is also my librarian's favorite. Fun fact. This one, so The Galaxy and the Grand Within follows a bunch of characters who are... The Galaxy and the Grand Within follows a bunch of characters who go to what is essentially an intergalactic truck stop. It has a restaurant, it has a gas station, it has all that. And then a meteor storm ish hits. Hold on, what does it say back here? It doesn't say. There's a technological failure, so they're all trapped on this small, like in this small little dome area of this truck stop, and it follows like five characters, 4 different species, and they know nothing about each other. It's a forced proximity, but it's not romance. It's developing a friendship. It's so cute, so sweet. And the reason this is my favorite is A, because there's no humans. In the other 3, the human character is, or there's at least one character who's human, who's the main character. There isn't a human character present for most of the story. It also has the biggest world building. I mean, the first book has lots of the initial one, but this builds onto it because we follow 4 different species, 3 of which are incredibly undiscovered in the other 3. Like, they're just not explored, I should say. They're like some big species within the world of the story, but they're not really explored culturally or anything. And so we get to see that within these characters. I could not tell you what the species were. One of them's Aranic, the Aranics, and then the Aeluans, but I don't remember the name of the other 2. Krillic or something. That, I'm pretty sure, is a fully different series, so do not listen to me on that. The characters are so funny and so sweet. Rovej is character of the year. I'm genuinely obsessed with him. He's so funny. There's a scene that happens about halfway, maybe a little bit before, where 2 of the characters are fighting because their species don't like each other, and he's just like, and it's from his perspective, and he's like drunk just listening in, and it's so funny. This is the only like really comedic one on the list. The other ones are all incredibly sad, which I think really highlights the strength of this book. Is naturally, I tend to lead to the sad stories, to the emotional ones. Those tend to be better written, just more deeply absorbed. So it's really testament that Becky Chambers managed 2 books into my top 10 to not necessarily undramatic. I think I cried during this one. It's been a little while. And this one and the first book is also on my list. So truly a marvel. Becky Chambers is definitely my favorite author of all time. What great book. Oh, I don't know where I'm putting this. The third book on my list, number 3, coming in hot, is a book you probably haven't heard of. Which is unfortunate because it's one of my favorites. So I bought it for like $4 because no one was buying it. I think that's really unfortunate. And that book is Corporate Gunslinger by Doug Engstrom. This book follows a slightly futuristic world where late-stage capitalism has gotten so far that companies can own you if you have too much debt. Essentially, they give you a place to live, and then you have to spend all your time working and sleeping. You work, and like you're trapped within a certain space. If you try to leave, they have a whole police force to take you down. Terrifying, not the main point of this book. Along with that, there's also corporate gunslingers, who essentially, insurance companies, if they don't give you insurance money for something, you can challenge them, in which case you have to go into a gunfight against someone who's trained to shoot you. Oh. So this follows a woman who is struggling with debt after going to drama school, and she knows that soon she is destined to become part of one of the companies that will force her to work. So she signs up to be trained as a corporate gunslinger because they will pay off some of her debt and give her a place to live. And it sort of follows her learning the ropes. There's 2 points, technically past and present, but just really it's present and future because the future one is so minuscule. It's like every couple of chapters it's 2 pages. So I don't want to explain too much in that because it is a bit of a spoiler. But yeah, and so it's truly devastating. I don't think I necessarily had to do too many trigger warnings on other books. I felt like those were pretty clear. This one is not super graphic, in the sense of like blood and stuff, which kind of shocks me. But there is a big trigger warning on alcoholism. That is a big part of this book. Ooh, shocker. People become alcoholics when they're depressed. I wonder what happens in this book. The book also ends on an uncertain ending, which personally I enjoy. I know lots of people don't, but I really like the way it ended. Because the point of the story is not succeeding. I'll leave it there. I don't want to give too much away. It's not about succeeding. It's about the points in life that brought her to that moment, that brought her to such a brutal time, and how all of it links to the horribleness that is capitalism. I love it so much. My second favorite book of all time is one that I didn't think I'd like. It was given to me by a friend, who also gifted me this book, which I'm not gonna talk about because it's misogynistic and ableist. My friend didn't know that. It's not her fault. She also gifted me this book, Battle Royale, by Kushin Takami. That one I'm a bit more confident about, but I still might have pronounced wrong. I had mentioned for my birthday, she was like, obviously I'm gonna get you a book. So I was like, well, get me something translated. You know, this I don't, I mean, at that point, the only translated fiction I'd read was Strange Beasts of China. And so I was really like, I want to read more translated. So I got her to, so my gift, that was my Christmas. And then she got this, after finding out it wasn't a manga, for Christmas. And I was like, well, I need to think positive. I need to be optimistic. I can't let her down and not read this book just because I'm worried that it'll be super graphic. I'm not good with blood, or I'm not good with most things. This is why I read mostly fluff in fanfiction. So I was really nervous. Thank God this book was truly amazing. As you can see, this is another book I've partially annotated. I mean, calling it partially is a bit like, that's partially annotated. Happy Stories mostly. This is just fully annotation. There are notes in the margins in some places. Truly, truly fun. Let me describe what this book's about. It is a modern classic. It's quite well known. Suzanne Collins has been accused of plagiarizing it. I've read both books. She didn't plagiarize it. People are just really dramatic. This follows a totalitarianist Japan in which the government forces, every year forces one junior high class of students onto an island to fight to the death until one remains. Pretty dark, right? You may see the similarities to Hunger Games there. This is a lot less criticism of the rich, though, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's a lot more about, it's closer in themes to Lord of the Flies, and does it 10 times better, in my opinion. I actually read this at the same time as Lord of the Flies in class, which is over annotated. Oh, I'm not gonna get that back in there. So this book, first off, has one of the best chapters of all time in chapter 10. I won't say much, but it's truly, I have multiple passages tabbed from that chapter alone. That's one of the great things about it. Like, there's a couple books throughout where I'm like, this is one of the best chapters ever written. Chapter 10 in this, Amethyst River in, oh, too much work. Up there, Master of Poisons, Blackwater Sisters, somewhere up there. Chapter 12. Truly, this book manages, I thought I did, hold on. Minutes. Oh, I lied. It's not chapter 10. I lied. Oh, that's not. I thought it was chapter 10. This is making me sad, but it looks like it was chapter 11. Truly an amazing book. Less graphic than I thought. You know, like the cover screams graphic, and everything about the but the book would make you think it's leans closer to splatterpunk. Not that way at all. Do not. I'm not gonna say don't let your fear of blood get in the way, because you probably should. It's still graphic. It's still hard to read at times. Just, it's not as bad as I thought. There are, I'm trying to think, what, I don't want to go in here and be like, oh my god, and then you're like, surprise, there's this big trigger that I didn't warn you about. Just an amazing book, and it's a modern classic for a reason. It's beloved for a reason. I'd love to make an actual review of this book where I talk about the spoilers and everything, because I love this book so damn much. The last book I'm going to talk about is one I don't own, even though it's my favorite book of all time. Okay. I have a lot of books, I don't know if you've noticed, so I don't really want to buy it, especially if it's not one that will immediately be a read. But I'd like to own it at some point because it's my favorite book of all time. Shocker. That book is Tonight We Rule the World by Zach Smedley. Devastating. The book follows an autistic teenager named Owen, I believe. I should know this. And so it follows, there's sort of like three main sections of the book, but it all revolves around his experience being sexually assaulted. So there's like pre-assault, post-assault, and then post-reveal. So the pre-assault is sort of his life before being assaulted. Post-assault is his life after being sexually assaulted, and then post-reveal is when it's revealed to everyone that because there's a whole thing where like rumors go around his school that someone was sexually assaulted, but they don't know who, and so reveal is once people know who. So that's I won't be talking about that for obvious reasons. The book is so emotional. Shocker. I wonder what the trigger warnings on this book could be. Other than obviously rape and sexual assault, there is a little bit of verbal abuse that may make someone uncomfortable. There's physical abuse too, actually. Oh, no, I'm not gonna live this one down with my friends. I try not to bring this book up because I'm unfortunately known as someone who reads too many books. Because one time in book club, I suggested a book that just so happened to have 5 too many graphic scenes of rape. Who said that? So now people don't trust me with books, and then this is my favorite book of all time, so that doesn't help. I found, I don't really want to get into this too much, but I found the book so relatable to everything that I've ever felt, and the main character is so relatable, and it's just so devastating. I don't know what else to say about the book. I genuinely adore it so much. Everything about it is so good and devastating, and there's a level of emotional maturity, especially within one character, and also the friends. That's so great to see, especially like contrasted to Owen and some to another character, and the parents. It's so good. The dad is such a complex character, and it produced not one but 2 of the best chapters I've ever read. I cannot tell you, just because the way the novel split up, the chapters are split up weirdly and they don't have names, so I can't tell you what chapters they were, but for anyone who's read the book, it's the talk show host and the cabin visit at the end. Oh, truly devastating. And the book had me sobbing so much, like in class, at home, middle of the night. Truly heart wrenching. I'm gonna leave it there. There's not a whole lot for me to say without getting into spoilers, I think. Be warned though, I mean, like, the whole point of the book is someone who's been sexually assaulted, so know your limits, of course, within that, and how comfortable you are with that. So, I almost knocked down the camera. So that was my top 5 books of all time, of which I'd like to make small reviews, especially Battle Royale. There's so much to talk about that book. I'd love to make small reviews about them, but it's been a while since, I think it's been, the most recent book was Happy Stories mostly. Oh, it's over here. And that one's been, we're closing in on a year. I think I read it very early June, and obviously it's early May. As for what I'm hoping to accomplish in the future as of videos, there's gonna be more. I am participating, I am participating in the Asian Readathon from with Cindy, so at the end of May, I'm gonna make a little wrap-up video about the month, and I'll talk a lot about that. It's not going great, because I've already DNF'd 2 of the books I was planning. One of them's right here. Cause what the fuck do you mean her steamer was twice as long as mine? Be so real. Like, what? So I do hope to make some videos and maybe possibly move a little bit away from books and into more general stuff. Naturally, I'm going to talk mostly about books, but I'd love to just talk about whatever. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed. I like to think I'm an enjoyable person, but I'm not like other girls, so actually dropping dead after that. So thank you for watching. I feel so I don't know what else to say. Bye.